characters. They are archangels almost. They come in and just...
Things he's done in his career is legitimize things that you would not think would immediately a hero.
He's like Giacometti, you know. He tries to cut his work down till it gets to primal energy, till it gets to be...
That, guess what? He was serious all along.
It's just been very nice because I've been directing films for 23 years. Out of the 39, I've been in the business, and this is...
Eastwood discovered his artistry as his audiences did, gradually, over time. He invented a new kind of movie hero, and then, as he matured, sharply criticized his creation. He has never limited himself to one genre or one kind of filmmaking, moving freely between mass-market entertainments and small, personal projects. Eastwood is an elusive artist, an intensely private man who reveals himself only through his work. Today, he remains a complex, contradictory, and essential figure in American culture.
Lost my woman. You lost your man, and who knows who's right or who's wrong. Drifting has always been fascinating to me because in that period of time, in the 30s, adults did drift.
Can't even pray it at night on the block. I think that I think he was naturally shy. He never got very good grades.
He just give me all the beer I wanted to drink. Once in a while, I'll get a tip. In war, a lot of younger actors had all been drafted. Maybe try it.
The impression I had was of a kid. He was, even acting is something that kind of happened to him.
3 young men were discovered and developed right here on our lot.
Just like all the other people around here didn't know what he was talking about.
That's funny. You think he'd know something? He's as blind as you are.
When I was signed, and He-Man, that, because he was a phenomenal listener. Was he interested in acting? I think very much.
Pictures of the dead.
Dropping napalm. Follow an order.
Hey, I think I hear surf. Yeah, I feel a groundswell. The beach must be dead ahead.
Dr. Bell's waiting for him in surgery, sir.
What is it, Will?
Telephone, Dr. Parker. Those contract players you were just a journeyman. You were sitting there to be called upon. In my case, I was always the lab technician.
Doc, didn't you say that among the lower animals there were no natural enemies as long as they were well fed?
Yeah, something like that.
We all sort of hung out. Didn't hang out as much with everyone because, and he was seriously married. Maggie, she was his wife, and that was that. She was very quiet, even before he was a star. They'd have direct.
Brando didn't want to talk too much about it because I don't think he wanted to intellectualize. I think he always looked down on acting as sort of...
Brando played those bongos, and Clint, of course, played piano.
And when the time came, remembered.
I was there for a year and a half.
The thing in Universal only lasted a couple of years, and then he was out on his own. The difference by that time was that he was really determined to be an actor.
Now you edge over a little bit, Mr. Maverick. I don't want to get a bill for that mirror.
He did some Maverick episodes. I don't know how many he did. He did 1 or 2. You could just tell Clint was going to be somebody. I mean, he had great stage presence. We were both very young at the time. He was offered Rawhide. And I remember we were living across the street from each other. I was backing out of my driveway, he was backing out of his, and he said he needed to talk to me because he was been offered this series. And he said, what should I ask for? And I said, I don't know what you asked for, but I'll tell you what you don't let them do. Just don't get locked up so tight you can't get out.
Keep moving, moving, moving. Oh, they're disapproving. Keep them doggies moving right.
We'll need places to hold them off once we're across.
I don't think that wagon's going to make it across that stream.
We'll have to try.
But it was pretty obvious that Clint, even though Rowdy was not the lead role, he was the outstanding actor. First time I had it seen was good.
I pick up white man's ways, mission school.
And I say, Clint started breaking up, and I said, this kind of reminds me.
Beyond the sun, over the mountain, there's a face my eyes hunger to see.
Doing television is great schooling because you're just doing things. You have to do it on a shoestring. You're doing stories that sometimes aren't so good. Some weeks they're good. Different actors coming in gives you an exposure to different ideas, different directors, and you start thinking, hey.
In the end, Eastwood spent 7 years on Rawhide. 7 years of frustration.
My agent offered me a job, Italian, Spanish, German. I read a few pages of it, and right away I was fascinated to see Yojimbo appearing. I had a vivid recollection of the Kurosawa film. About halfway through the picture, I said, this.
Get 3 coffins ready.
The mercenary hero of A Fistful of Dollars bore a strong resemblance to the lone samurai played by Toshiro Mifune in Akira Kurosawa's classic Japanese film of 1961.
I don't think it's nice, you laughing. See, my mule don't like people laughing. It's the crazy idea you're laughing at him. Now, if you apologize like I know you're going to, I might convince him that you really didn't mean it. My mistake. 4 coffins.
I really wanted James.
Nel muoversi.
It seemed to me Clint closely resembled a cat.
Somiglia molto da vicino a un gatto.
The communication was a little rough. I knew arrivederci and buongiorno, and he knew goodbye and hello, and that was it.
Ecco, Sergio, Clint, watch me. You go.
The Western was very, very stale in America at that time. John Ford, Anthony Mann, Howard Hawks was no longer making them. There was nobody who was really doing a Western in America, and the people who were doing them weren't doing anything different. So it kind of came in to feel himself bound to any mores of the American Western. Man rides in on a 35-year-old horse, very shabby looking. He sees man kicking kid. Sees woman obviously in a distraught position at the house, obviously a prisoner of sorts. And he turns and rides off. I just picked out a lot of the wardrobe and brought it all with me. We ended up changing the poncho. We found one in Spain. Sergio liked that green one. Same boots I wore on Rawhide. Cigars. I bought them in a store down in Beverly Hills. They're about that long. And so I bought a mess of them, and I just chopped them up in 3 pieces. And I'd always have a pocket full of them. I'd always have them in different sizes and lengths. In one scene I'd have left off, I'd have it in one length. If you're jumping to another sequence, I'd remember where it was. We didn't even have bathrooms. We were out there in this town, and there was nothing. Just this facade town.
We were out in the desert. It was 6:45 in the morning. Clint's acting style reminds me of Gary Cooper. What I liked was his calmness. I must have been like a little jittery. Water. I was a member of the Actors Studio. I was loaded with the method, and he wasn't.
Leone's approach to acting is a little overboard. Everything is quite heightened. I played him very...
Instinctively, Eastwood knew what to give Leone. He gave him a myth, an archetype, a figure who would be both more and less than human. Eastwood placed his performance not in words, but in movement and gesture. After more than a decade in the business, Eastwood had learned to hold back, to create a sense of mystery around himself. It was as if he said to his audience, "I'm no longer going out to meet you. From now on, you come to me." Clint Eastwood was 36 years old, and his career was about to begin.
But Clint said when he was leaving, smile.
Back in the States, the public knew that something different had come on the scene. An action hero who wasn't buying the old myths, who was wised up, street smart, and dangerous. When he returned to Hollywood as a star, his agents and managers urged, unlike the stars of the studio era, he would not be a passive participant in his own career.
I came back, I was offered offensive extravaganza. My agents wanted me to do it in the worst way, but I never liked it. Never liked the script on it. I wanted to do this little thing, Hang 'em High. We formed Malpaso and just went ahead and did that instead.
When Eastwood set up Malpaso, he created the production company that remains his home today. Malpaso allowed him to take control of his image.
The second movie I made back in the States was Coogan's Bluff. I was looking for somebody new or some young guy that might be an interesting choice as a director. I went back and I looked at some Siegel films, Madigan, and The Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Prowl around here. This is the city of New York. We've got a system. Not much, but we're fond of it. We don't like it when some twofer...
Coogan's Bluff was the step...
Looking for Jimbo, eh?
Don Siegel invited me to come by the set of Coogan's Bluff, and I hung around late into the night watching them work. He moved fast. He was used to moving fast, doing small budget pictures on tight schedules. And one thing struck me very noticeably. I'd been around enough sets to know that this was unusual, which was that the star, Clint Eastwood, never left the set between setups. He never went to his trailer or went to the...
Eastwood observed Siegel as intently as he had observed Leone, and their collaboration would grow into a deep friendship over the years they worked together.
I did a series with Derek. It was sort of what the agency wanted me to do. And it was pairing up with Richard Burton, so they thought that was a good idea.
There's a certain line of American actors who are immensely different from British actors, and he is in the great line of, shall we say, Spencer Tracy or James Stewart or Bob Mitchum. They have a kind of dynamic lethargy. They appear to do nothing, and they do everything. He reduced everything to an absolute minimum. If he had, I remember, for instance, he had perhaps a 4-line speech, and he reduced it to 4 words.
In my pocket here I have the names of all the conspirators.
Richard Burton, of course, had this wonderful speaking voice, and he came in there, and his hand was shaking, kind of like that. His hand, when he was holding a gun, he'd kind of hold like this, a little tiny gun. Brian Hutton, who was directing the film, came over to me and kind of said, "What am I going to do about this?" And he, with that look on his face, and I just leaned over to him and I said, "I know. He'll do the talking, I'll do the killing."
His agents and people were really casting him in that kind of late 60s movie star way. It's a big star vehicle, and it's an expensive movie, and, it'll be great.